Hey guys, we're going to kind of just get right into it. This evening, I'm not running a vertical stream. I'm not planning on dealing with it. It already took me forever just to set this up, and I'm already frustrated. So we're just going to get into it. I decided I'm just going to go back to the very beginning of the press conference so we can watch it in its entirety. I want you guys to understand what's going on here. I've already heard some people I highly respect that I've always thought was unbiased and would report, and they're already reporting inaccurate information. I saw it for myself, and so I wanted to gather, since, people sometimes may overlook some things. I wanted to gather some information and get that stuff out there. So I have been putting it out on, and why you guys should be following me on other channels is because I am putting that stuff out there, and I'm putting that stuff out there on Facebook on my private account that I've just converted over for Facebook. And then the other ones are, sorry, let me get this taken care of. Hello, guys. And then the other ones, and of course, it's just a little too short. Let me fix this. I should fix this right there. And so I went out and got some content. I went and searched the whole web, started looking at different angles, finding different angles of people shooting. There was a lot of people out there. There should have been plenty of footage, people uploading footage. And so I started getting some stuff from different angles, different heights, different everything. I was able to piece this together. You could clearly see this lady hit the officer with her vehicle. We're not talking about this. So let me get this pulled up here so we can get started on this. And we're going to watch it from the very beginning. I know it's going live right now, but I think we need to watch it from the beginning. And we're not too far behind, but I think it's important that everybody, if you're not watching this, you guys get to watch this. This is where she gets on. We're only about 5 minutes behind.
That we saw here in Minneapolis today. Any loss of life is a tragedy. And I think all of us can agree that in this situation, it was preventable. I've spoken to the president today on the situation.
Hopefully
here
you guys
on the
can hear
ground.
well.
I also just got off the phone a little while ago with Governor Walz and spoke to him as well. I want to reiterate first with all of you the facts of what happened today. At 10:25 a.m. Central Time, Immigration and Customs Enforcement were carrying out lawful operations.
Hey guys, by the
here in
way, thank you for
Minneapolis.
being here.
Because of the adverse weather that Minneapolis has seen in recent snow, one of the vehicles became stuck and ensnared in the snow. Law enforcement were attempting to push out this vehicle, and when a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day began blocking them in, shouting at them, and impeding law enforcement operations.
These people need to be arrested.
ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question, who was blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism.
And what I personally saw and witnessed myself was officers giving her lawful commands and her not following them. One officer sitting in front of her vehicle to make sure she did not leave, and she gunned it.
The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family. I encourage the American people at this point in time to pray for him, but also to pray for the deceased's family and her loved ones. Today alone in this country, there have been 4 different domestic terrorist attacks on federal officers by the ramming of vehicles. 3 of them happened here in Minneapolis. We've seen over 100 of these vehicle rammings happen in just recent weeks, and this must stop. ICE alone is facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them and an 8,000% increase in death threats against all of them. In fact, the very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June. He sustained injuries at that time as well. And let me remind you why we're all here in this city today and why we've been here. In communities across this country and here in Minneapolis, We're just enforcing the laws that we have in this country. For years under President Biden, tens of millions of dangerous criminal illegal aliens, terrorists, and suspected terrorists were allowed to invade our country over.
I want to say something like, everybody keeps saying like 25 million, right? First it was 10 million. I think it's a hell of a lot more than 25 million. I mean, our housing, we had every single state in America just poof, no houses overnight. How did that happen? How in the hell did that happen? And you guys know it's true. You guys watched it in your own communities. I know I watched it in mine.
Our southern border. They were allowed to steal, to defraud, and to perpetuate violence against American citizens. Regardless of who your mayor or who your governor is, President Trump promised every single American that he would make America safe again. He promised every single American that he would work to protect them from dangerous criminals. Since Governor Walz has been in charge of Minnesota, we have seen homicides go up by over 50%. That's also during Mayor Frye's tenure as well. Since President Trump took office, Governor Walz has released over 470 violent criminals back onto the streets here in Minneapolis.
Why do you think they're doing that? Does anybody have just an inkling of why they are doing this? Why do they keep emptying our jail cells on the street to attack us? What is the purpose of that? It seems to me that the only benefit of that is that they will hurt us, right? They will hurt us and they will tell us that we are required to put up with it so they can save money by not housing them in our jails. That's the only benefit that I see, to cause unrest. I think they are, because we're not even going to get into Tim Walz. Oh my gosh. That man right there, he better watch himself. Hey, Freeside, he's pushing the envelope. He's pushing the envelope with some of the stuff. Like, I understand the law, okay? I don't know it inside and out, but I know when I read a statute and I read some case law, I can kind of figure out, how the law really is meant to be applied. And he is really coming close. And I don't know. I think he needs to watch himself, just personally speaking.
He has another 680 of them still within his jurisdiction that he could give to us today to face the consequences for their crimes.
Wow.
Because Governor Walz and Mayor Frye refuse to protect Minnesotans, and instead they protect these criminals, that's why we are here. And we didn't just show up yesterday, we've always been here. But we're surging operations because of the dangerous situation we see.
It's dangerous because they funded all the bad guys in the community. And now Tim is starting to train his National Guards, and it's becoming a toxic situation there. And Tim Walz is a fraud. Okay, $18 billion and growing, by the way, and growing.
In this country, and because we're no longer going to allow illegal criminals to damage and harm, to kill, to sexually abuse, to proliferate drugs, and to steal American taxpayers' dollars. This state has faced unprecedented immigration fraud. It's seen unprecedented
Unprecedented
fraud.
is the word.
Individuals were allowed to come into this country and set up fake companies and fake nonprofits and divert billions of dollars away from American citizens and those vulnerable citizens who truly needed the services from those programs. This city has burned before.
I'm not sure if I truly believe that Minnesota people voted for this crap. You just can't make me believe that people in Minnesota are like, okay, bend me over and you know what I'm saying, and take it. I mean, there's people that are nice and want to help, but you cannot tell me that people want to be taken advantage of. That seems like, I just have to use simple logic here that humans kind of function the same way, no matter what, and, unless you're a certain type of person, whatever. But for the most part, I think all of us, sorry, I got these in the wrong ear because they've only got one side of the microphone working, so only the right side, and I'm deaf in my right ear, so I have to move it to the left. Anyways, that's a long story, another day. but I don't know. I don't know. We'll keep going.
And your mayor and your governor let it happen. President Trump is not going to let that happen. He and our federal law enforcement officers are here to bring peace and to bring public safety and to ensure that criminal activity is stopped and that people who perpetuate it will face consequences. Since we have been here in recent weeks, we have arrested over 1,500 criminals.
Wow.
Our law enforcement has arrested murderers, known and suspected terrorists, child pedophiles, and other brutal criminals that were protected here in this city. We should all work together to protect our citizens. We should all protect the men and the women and the families who live here in Minneapolis, who live in Minnesota,
I
and
agree,
live
Chase.
throughout this entire country.
I agree.
I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for focusing on the important work that our federal officers do and make sure that we're focused on the priorities of this country, and that's making sure that we're keeping people safe.
I'm sorry. I've talked to a lot of people. You guys know I'm politically active and stuff like that. And granted, I'm not in Minnesota, okay? But we have watched people in Chicago. I've talked to people here. And, honestly, the consensus with this whole immigration thing is it's not our fight on either side of the aisle. We don't care. I'm not sure who's fueling this. The only thing I can really, just my opinion, but I'm really kind of feeling like the people that are fighting for this are the ones that are doing the fraud in funneling money to these politicians. And it seems like they keep thinking everybody's just going to be on board with this. And I feel like because now that there's so many people that are jumping ship with the Democrats, that they can't maintain the con or the fraud anymore, and they need to shovel people in to kind of explain I don't know. I really think I don't think people voted for these people. I mean, I just don't see how you can tell me that true blue Minnesotans voted for this. There's just I mean, call me crazy. I am a people person. I'm not an everybody person. I gotta switch gears. Okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm not an everybody person, but I definitely am a people person, folks. Okay, I'm a people person. I know people. I know how they function and how they act. And no matter how nice you are, at some point you're going to feel like you're getting the screw. And I'm just saying that everybody gets frustrated. I'm just saying. Everybody gets frustrated.
With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Secretary, Mayor Fry called the claims of self-defense BS. How do you respond to that?
I say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations.
So as soon as she followed them around, as soon as she obstructed their vehicle, they had a right to detain her and arrest her. It looked like she knew she was about to be arrested and tried to take off. They had gotten another vehicle there. They got more officers there. They surrounded the vehicle. This is standard police protocol, okay? I heard some idiots out there on social media saying, well, he had time to move out of the way. He has a job to do. He is stopping that vehicle. That's the whole purpose of him putting his body in front of the vehicle, is so it doesn't move. So as soon as she turned that vehicle, because it wasn't supposed to move, they gave her lawful commands to stop. Once that happens, she should have just stopped and dealt with the consequences. But she didn't want to. And she put 4 officers in jeopardy. 4. One was already holding on to her door, trying to turn her car off. She could have easily ran him over. He had every lawful right to do what he did. The officers had every right to stop her from moving that vehicle, and she took it and used it as a weapon, and she lost her life. Her name was Renee Cook, okay? She's a crazy, liberal crackpot. That's all I can say about her. She travels all over this country to do this to agents. She is being paid by the deep state to run all over the country to do this, and I think they should be indicted on her homicide. Or attempted homicide, because she was the person that tried to run them over after being paid by them. So I think that they need to get smart with all of this criminal law and start going after the people that are funding these things. Okay? And that's what happened. This was a funded project. She was a person that gets paid to do this. Who's paying her? Because they need to be charged with homicide. Who paid her to be there? They need to be charged with homicide. They need to be charged with attempted murder because she tried to kill an officer and they're just as culpable. We know how criminal law works, right? All people don't need to actually go and pull the trigger, right? They're an accessory to this crime. This is a homicide crime. Whoever funded her needs to be in jail right now. I hope Kristi Noem hears this message, which I'm sure she won't, but I'm pretty sure people are going to hear. And I'm not going to be the only one that thinks that these people that funded this well-known Renee Cook that goes all over the country doing this, she's not even from Minneapolis. She's not even from Minnesota. So whoever funded her needs to be brought to justice.
Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been
sorry
taught to
guys,
do in
I didn't mean to do that. I
situation,
don't know how to
and
get
took
back.
actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers. The officer was hit by the vehicle. She hit him.
I told you.
He went to the hospital. A doctor did treat him. He has been released, but he's going to spend some time with his family.
We will
I can't,
see
but
that
the
too.
FBI will continue the investigation and release more facts.
I'm going to tell you guys, I can release the image of one angle. I can't release the other one because I think, well, I have to stop it at a certain spot, but I don't have to stop the second one. I've already released it on all the platforms. It's good. It's past all the screens, so I'll show you that one. It's the less graphic of them, but it gives you the point blank angle where she hits the officer. So you don't really see anything, but you do see the contact from the car to the officer. There is absolute contact. So
when it's appropriate. No, we're following the standard protocol procedures we do in situations like this. When there's an officer-involved shooting, we make sure that we get the facts and that we are getting the statements from everybody involved and make sure that investigators are handling the decisions.
I can tell you everything that I saw out there and everything that we know to be proper police protocol was followed, okay? That lady was going to jail, period. She had pushed the limit too much that day. Officers were fed up. They were taking her in. Okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She was under arrest and she tried to flee. And she tried to hurt officers in the process. And no matter what you want to believe about this story, you know, the facts are the facts, okay? You can make this a racial issue. You can make this an immigration issue. You can make this a different issue, whatever issue you want to make it, okay? For the people that don't like the results of this, at the end of the day, this lady, Renee Cook, ultimately made these decisions for herself, okay? And she ultimately paid the price for those decisions. If you ask me, from everything that I've learned about Renee Cook, she was an activist. You live by the sword, you die by the sword, okay? She's just another thug that lost her life in the streets. I'm sorry, and that's the way I'm going to remember her. She's nothing to me but a thug, okay? A thug. And I feel very sorry that her family is going to go through a lot of pain. If they supported her actions, well, they were complicit in her death, period.
ICE operations paused because of what happened today.
No, we're still out on the streets doing our work to get dangerous criminals off of the streets of Minneapolis.
Can you tell any insight into your conversation with the governor?
You know, Tim and I have known each other for years. We served in Congress together. We both ran for governor the same year and have served as governor at the same times. So we were colleagues, and we discussed what happened here today. We have two very different viewpoints of it. I talked specifically about the fact that we have laws, they need to be enforced. He knows that I believe sanctuary policies have protected criminals and placed a priority of them over
the rhetoric and the insightful language from the politicians are a direct result of what was going on today. So let's not take that away from everybody here as well.
Citizens that live here, and he knows we'll continue to do our work, and I encouraged him to work with us. We've never had a cooperative arrangement with law enforcement here. Whenever we've done investigations, whenever we've done police work, when we've been doing what we can to bring people to justice for the crimes that they commit, we haven't had the cooperation of the state of Minnesota.
And that's bullshit. They're getting our federal funds. And quite frankly, I'm disappointed because I feel like our federal funds should have been shut off a really, really long time ago. Okay? And one of the reasons why I think that she's beautiful and she's smart and she kicks ass. Okay. She's one of the ones that I'm comfortable with being in a leadership position because as nice as she is, she's got a set of brass balls. Okay. She's from South Dakota. She's a gun-toting lady. I don't know what to tell you. Everything that is good about America is good in this administration. I'm sure we have probably some nutbags, somewhere weeded in somewhere. We're not going to get 100 out of 100, but for the most part, I'm very pleased with the cabinet. I'm very pleased with the directors, the secretaries, the head people in charge. I'm really kind of getting some disdain for obviously AG Pam Bondi, but for the most part, I think we have a kick-ass team. I would like to see a new leader and a new speaker. Well, I'm not quite on board with the new speaker, but definitely a new leader. He sucks at his job.
Or the city police here under the mayor's direction. If you talk to any of these federal law enforcement officers, they'll say that when they call for backup in a situation, that it's hit and miss. They were grateful today that the police chief and local law enforcement showed up at the scene and helped secure it to make sure that nobody was harmed and that the FBI could do their work. But I would encourage them to work with us, that we could form a partnership that would make sure that individuals have the opportunity to have a safe Minneapolis.
Secretary Will Body
Over here.
Do you stand behind the use of force, and will any of those use of force guidelines be altered or changed in the future?
It's clearly established law that a vehicle driven by a person and used to harm someone is a deadly weapon. Deadly force is perfectly lawful when a threat is faced by a weapon.
Okay, so you guys see she does have some legal talking points. When she's asked a specific question, because of the nature of this, as you guys can imagine, she is going to be required, be held to some standard of what she's saying right now. So she has to be very, very specific on how she phrases it, the language she's using here. So you see her constantly looking down where she was just looking up. She was wanting to make sure she gets the language verbatim, because there's certain things she's required to have verbatim.
So I do believe that this officer used his training in this situation, and we'll let the FBI continue the investigation.
I think so too.
I know you keep asking that, but that doesn't mean that the FBI is going to give you an answer today. There will be an investigation. We want to make sure that it's factual. What I would ask is that as we go forward from here today, that we all remember that our job is...
Let me be very clear. It doesn't matter when they shot, whether that car hit him before he shot or after he shot. She was aiming the car at him, and she drove it toward him. And unfortunately, in a situation like that, that is the standard for lethal force. And they executed lethal force. They executed the threat. She was a threat. Okay? If any of us were standing in front of that car, I promise you, we would probably see things just a little bit different if you don't see it as that being a threat. Okay? Because I don't see you jumping in front of that car, boo-boo. Right? Just saying. Just saying.
to have peaceful discussions. I'd encourage our local law enforcement.
She
and state law
certainly
enforcement
was,
to
from
work with
everything
us.
I saw.
We are going to continue to operate here in Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota to make sure we're going after dangerous criminals. One of the key focuses that we've had here is a focus on individuals who are sexual predators and are involved in child exploitation. When I was just here yesterday, we arrested individuals who were charged with criminal assault and sexual assault and people that exploited children. Why would you want to keep them on your streets? President Trump has promised to go after the worst of the worst, and that's exactly what we're doing in Minneapolis.
Let me ask, do I have anybody from Minnesota in here? If I have like one person from Minnesota, can you explain to me why you would want these people in your communities or around your family? If you know that these people are violent and dangerous, why? I mean, I'm asking a serious question here. Why would you not want these people out? Or is this, do you want them out and your politics and your politicians are holding you hostage in the state? Like, I seriously want to know. If you're from Minnesota, even if you're coming across this later or you're on the replay crew, please reach out to bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Bullhorn Betty. I'm curious. I'm seriously asking. I'm not being condescending or anything. And if you're willing to give me an answer, I'd like to know. And I'm looking to look at, because I just, me as a human being would not put up with this. Like, I would not be putting up with this. If this was going on in my backyard, I ain't the one. I don't know why, but I would not put up with this. I wouldn't. I would be rallying troops. I would be getting out there and saying, we got to put an end to this if our law enforcement isn't going to do it. You know, we've got to start standing up with our signs and letting people know we support these people. We don't want officers dead in our streets. You know, at what point are you going to do that? And why would the black community be out there unless you guys are here illegally? Like, sit home. You know, sit home. It has nothing to do. Immigration has nothing to do with American citizens. If you're an American citizen, calm down and sit down. Why do we give a rat's ass if it has nothing to do with us? And why the hell are we putting our lives in jeopardy to protect people that would literally set us on fire? Good gracious, or are us, or SA us, or you guys just heard Christy. These people aren't good people. Look at the teacher. Policies, her own policies. Kada Scott, her family, their policies.
By not working with us, Governor Walz and Mayor Frey are putting those criminals and prioritizing them over our children and our grandchildren.
Governor Walz said that he is not giving any heads up when there is going to
And that's simply not true. He said that to me on the phone too, so I'll get him the documentation that he needs so that he knows that we would love to coordinate with him. He doesn't give us access to any information on criminals, let us know who he's detained, doesn't honor our detainers, and has individuals and criminals in his jurisdiction that he won't turn over us today too. Yes.
You mentioned that the officer involved today was once before raped by a vehicle. Can you explain the difference between that instance and today? Was a firearm discharged then? If not, what was the big difference?
I won't speak to that case right now, but we can get you the details and the information on that. But the facts of the matter is he's an experienced officer. He's been in situations like this before, and he certainly has been out there and followed his training today.
And his training saved his life.
You know, people need to stop using their vehicles as weapons.
Yes.
This domestic act of terrorism to use your vehicle to try to kill law enforcement officers is going to stop. And I'm asking the Department of Justice to prosecute it as domestic terrorism because it's clear that it's being coordinated. People are being trained and told how to use their vehicles to impede law enforcement operations and then to run over anybody who gets in their way while they go out there and try to disrupt peace and public safety. And Americans deserve better.
Yep.
Can you say what they were in the National Guard?
That hasn't been a part of the discussion. I know Governor Walz mentioned some of that earlier in his press conference, but we know we've got law enforcement officers here that will continue to work, and we're hopeful that the public recognizes that the work that we do every day makes America safe again.
Amen.
With that,
into the operation that was happening at 34th and Portland?
we had law enforcement officers that were out there doing an enforcement action. and a vehicle got stuck in the snow, and so they had called for other people to come and help them get that vehicle out. Those officers were trying to free the vehicle when the harassment started, when the protesters were out there impeding their vehicles and preventing them from leaving the scene.
Was it at a particular home or business in that intersection?
I won't speak to that.
Can you speak to the crime that person may be committed that you were going after? And you mentioned sexual crime. Okay. Will body camera footage be released?
I will let the FBI decide.
Were they on target today when they were in that neighborhood?
They were returning back to headquarters, I believe, to start a new operation, had just completed one.
Was it a nice?
Well, thank you. What's that?
Was it a nice vehicle that needed to be?
I was one of the vehicles that ICE officers were using. But remember, when we operate in a task force model. So we have other federal agencies that work with us, and we're very grateful for that. We have CBP.
So everybody
officers,
but Tim
the
Wall's
FBI,
office,
DEA,
basically.
ATF, all of those all work with us every day in a task force model, and we appreciate it. We'd love to have the state police, and we'd also love to have the Minneapolis police chief and his team be alongside of us while we're out there doing those enforcement operations.
Were the agents later?
With that, we'll get you more information as it is revealed, but thank you and everybody. Let's work together to make sure that we can continue to help the city be safer, get more criminals off the streets, and ensure that our public has the opportunity to pursue the American dream in a city they can be proud of. Thank you.
So, I keep forgetting that this isn't a new spot. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to do it a few more times and trying to get this thing stretched out like it's supposed to be, and it's just not. Anyways, long story short is long story longer, we do have receipts. Okay, I'm going to show you several different angles. If you're not on my X account, these are the times where you're going to want to be on my X account because I'm dropping a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not dropping on here for, whenever I was monitoring things and dropping a lot of stuff on here because I was finding the stuff I was dropping. So as you see, this is the car. We already know. Oops, sorry. Oh, good gracious. Sorry. Is that the right one? There it is. Okay, so there's her car. As you can see, this is the car she was in. There's a single bullet in the windshield. Let me see if I can get this just a tad bit bigger. Okay, I think you guys can see that a little bit better on the screen. So we have this car, that is her, but let me go over to the profile and you guys will see some of this stuff. I got something pinned. Right here. Here it is, right here. Let me get this up and running. An ICE agent with her vehicle and loses. Okay. It's coming out to the point. So let me make sure I can see you guys on the screen real quick. Oh, this is just going to really get under my skin if you don't start acting right. So you can see it. Okay, you can see the whole thing right behind my head. Let me get back over here, and I'm going to play this for you now. This crazy woman decides to hit an ICE agent with her vehicle and loses her life as a result of it. There is no question there it is. At this point whether or not this woman came in. Okay, let's go back. Look up. There's the Honda. So there's the officer. You see him. He's in front of her car, positioned properly to make sure she does not move, and she guns it toward him. And he draws his weapon because he sees her getting antsy and resisting arrest. So in precautionary measures, which is standard protocol, he goes ahead and realizes the situation's escalate, and he gets his firearm prepared. And she does ultimately gun it. He lifts it up. We can't see when he did, but right there. You see that? Right there. She hits him. She hits him. Right there. Okay, why isn't it? Give it just a second. So she's not there. And then boom, she pushes him slap out of the way. And he fires as she pushes him, starts pushing him out of the way. Now, I don't know if he got it off before you can't see it. You can't see anything here. All you can see is just her hitting the officer. And again, Christy Noem saying that officer went to the hospital. Oh, you guys can barely see it. Hold on. Let me move it back. Sorry about that. Hold on. Let me get back. Let's do this again. You couldn't even see it. So here's the officer. She goes, and then boom, she hits. Come on. Hold on. Let it get a second because it doesn't like me. There we go. So there's the car. Back. There's the car. She hits him. She hits him. She comes out of there. There she hits him. You guys see that? She hits him right in the hip thigh region. Now, again, from this angle, it's much more grainier. You can't see a firearm. You can't see a shot. You can't see anything other than the corner of this car, the driver's corner of this car. He's like this. She's coming around, and she hits this area of his body right here, okay, with the vehicle. Now, again, the question was the firearm discharged before the hit or after the hit? Clearly, you can't see anything in this video one way or the other. So I have no earthly idea. I don't know at what point, but we do know just by the photo of the front windshield of the car that at least there is one bullet through the windshield. Now, it is my understanding that we did learn that there were multiple shots fired. This was the first time that I realized that there were multiple shots fired. I feel like I listened to it, but I wasn't paying attention to multiple shots fired. So I'd have to assume if it's multiple, it's more. It's two or more. I believe 3. Okay, so some people are saying that they believe they heard 3 shots. I don't know if her window was up or, oh no, her window was down, because I remember seeing the officer's arm trying to get into the car to unlock the door to get her keys to shut off her car. So thank you guys. I never listened to it. Well, the problem is I can't. YouTube's funny. If I do have the image, I do have the video on my my X account here. So if you guys want to go over to my X account and go through my feed, you should find a lot of information. I've got 2 different angles of this. I got the other side, you know, where you can see the other 2 officers really good. I've got that there, and that's where you can hear the fire. On Twitter, we can get away with putting this stuff up. On Facebook, some stuff we can get away. This right here, this particular video was the only video I felt confident with being able to, without having to put a lot of, you know, stuff on it to block stuff out. I figured this was the best video I could use because it shows virtually nothing other than the corner of the vehicle making contact to the side of the body. The guy didn't get injured. You know, he's injured, but he didn't get seriously injured, and he didn't lose his life. But again, listen, guys, I love everybody. I don't care. You know, I believe in activism. You guys know I'm an activist. I believe in activism. I believe in protesting. I believe in following the law. Okay, though. That's the difference between me and some of these people that are out there. This lady was not following the law. I would never. If an officer told me to move, I move. If an officer tells me to turn off my car, I'm turning off my car. If an officer tells me to get out of the car, my ass is getting out of the car, you know? If I've got to go to jail, I got to go to jail. So what? So what? If I didn't do anything wrong, it will get itself worked out. I'm not going to a funeral home over something stupid. Okay? This was stupid. This girl knew better. She knew better. She knew better. What she did was attempted murder. She lost her life because of it. And it wasn't just one attempted murder charge, folks. There were 5 officers surrounding her vehicle when she chose to gun it, when she chose to turn that vehicle into a weapon. She is so deranged. And for her mommy, her poor little mommy, had to go up and identify her. Why didn't her mom try to help her before it got to this point? When you get this violent, when you get this involved with protesting or causes, you've lost it. You've lost it. I would never in a million years ever act like this out anywhere. I would never put anybody in harm's way. There are some things that we do that are dangerous, but I would never put somebody in harm's way. Okay? We follow the law. We follow the law all the time because that's the only way. Why would you be breaking the law if you're advocating for a cause? Advocation for causes is crime-free. Okay? You don't have to be a criminal in America to protest, to raise your voice, to have signs, to be a boil on the butt of a politician. But what you can't do is you can't interfere in investigations. You can't physically restrain officers from moving freely. Do you guys understand that? What these people are doing is dangerous, and somebody got killed today. And now they're trying to have a scapegoat, and their scapegoat is ICE. But I don't think anybody is buying it because, again, as I laid out at the beginning of this, I don't see where anybody really gives a shit at this point. I've spoke to both sides of the aisle. Not that, people I speak to represent the entire party or anything, but you guys know it gives us at least an insight and a lay of the land, okay? It gives us at least a sampling of what's around this country and how the other side feels about things, okay? I'm not saying that everybody's 100%, but nobody gives a rat's ass. Everybody's hard up right now for money, okay? I don't see the black, brown, or white community really getting involved in this fight. I just don't. And I don't want to hear anybody say, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. I'm using the terms that everybody else uses, okay? Just saying. I would like to say American citizens versus illegal aliens, but apparently that's kind of, putrid and disgusting and everything like that. Everybody wants to be offended about something, okay? I don't believe in the haves and have-not. Maybe we should just call them the haves and the have-nots. Maybe we should just really get down, right? I don't know. But I don't see how any American really gives a crap, I don't see anybody standing on this hill to die on it, right? Seriously. That lady was paid to do that. She lost her life. There needs to be more people in jail right now because they need to be charged with her homicide. Who funded this lady? She was funded. I'm telling you, I know funding. I know funding. I know this lady by name. I've never met her personally. But this is Renee Cook. She lost her life. It's not the first time I've heard of her name. I don't know how I've heard of her name, but it's not the first time I've heard of her name. And if I see her out here, maybe that's why I've heard of her name. I may have heard of her name in, whatever. Well, I'm not apologizing. I feel bad that this woman chose to do this. This didn't advance anybody's causes. This actually just put Minnesota in a really bad spot because they've already got the feds up their ass over the fraud, the billions of dollars in fraud, and now you're funneling citizens in there to harass ICE. You're what? And then now Tim Walz is threatening the federal government and he's going to unleash his National Guards. He's going to cause a civil war. Okay, Cupcake. I'd love to see that because I don't think we're going to be playing. Does he remember Maduro? I don't know if he understands the federal government because I just watched the federal government kick in the front door of somebody that had an arrest warrant over in another country. So, Mr. Walz, I'm not going to call you governor because you've just pretty much shit on your entire state. You're not governing them at all. As a matter of fact, you're taking them down. I'll hold my comment. But as you saw, if there's any dispute on whether or not this lady hit the officer, this is the proof. She did hit the officer. You can blow it up. You can see the force of it move him, okay? Arrest tampon Tim. I think he knew about we already know he knew about the fraud. We already know he was a beneficiary of the fraud. We know that the fraud was being paid to even the AG. Ellison right now is under federal investigation because he was out there shaking their hands, basically saying, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. That's a bad thing to have on the record. And they've got a recording of it. I heard it today. It was his voice. Again, go on X. You guys if you're not on X, you're missing a whole lot. I know it's a reading app, but, I throw some videos on there. It's a reading app, but I think you guys are missing out if you're not over there. Email.com. This is a sad day. I'm not happy about this, okay? I know my Delilah, no. I know for a fact that my thumbnail's a little satire-y, but at the end of the day, I don't want anybody ever being hurt, okay? You guys know I love people, period. Some people make terrible decisions and they ultimately lose their life. I'm upset that an activist, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, I don't want anybody hurt, okay? But there was a toxic environment that created this. And there is money being funneled. And she is a paid agitator. So there's somebody here that needs to be on the hook for this crime. Because somebody put her up to this. She didn't do all of this on her own. I can promise you and guarantee you that. I can promise you and guarantee you that. So we need to be pushing that whoever funded her to be here also needs to be behind bars. And if her mom helped her, her mom needs to be behind bars as well. If her friend helped her, her friend needs to be behind bars as well. Okay? One thing I think people in Minnesota should really consider doing is demanding that your governor follow the law. None of us should be above the law. And it seems like Minnesota thinks that they can just violate law after law. Criminal is able to just have criminal conduct. You guys are being robbed blind. And not only that, you're robbing the other American, the federal, you're robbing us blind by proxy. Because who the hell do you think is funneling the money into your damn state? I'm over it. I'm over it. I hope federal funds never go back to Minnesota. Like, I don't want you guys having funds at all at this point. I'm terrified of sending funds. I think you guys should be on the hook to pay back every blessed penny to the federal government. If you can recoup it from these people, well, I pray to God you can. But if you can't, taxpayers, you better pony up the money. This is your government. You're responsible. You owe the federal taxpayers billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. That wasn't your money. That was ours. That was our money. So somebody needs to figure something out here. Because we got Social Security recipients and people on Medicaid that truly need money. And we got a lot of fraudsters out there in Minnesota, including their governor. And now their governor's wanting to wave a black flag and say charge? That man needs to resign. That man needs to resign. That man needs to resign. I'm just saying, Minnesota, you guys are playing a dangerous game. You're playing a dangerous game with some pretty strategic people. You don't screw with the federal government. I mean, nobody's that stupid. I guarantee you, your citizens are sitting there saying, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this, because I guarantee you if my governor was tit for tat like this, I'd be saying, don't do this. We are not sitting here screwing with the federal government. The federal government has a hell of a lot more resources than any given state, and let's be honest, what does Minnesota have? They were just robbed blind. So the governor needs to sit down and shut up, in my opinion. And I think it's time for the citizens to stand up and put him in his place. I really do. I really do. I would be demanding his resignation. The state needs to, people there. If you guys aren't going to do it, it's such a shame. I just can't believe that American citizens are not pissed in Minnesota. I just can't believe it. I have to believe they're angry. I have to believe they're angry. Who wouldn't be angry over this? Do we have any Democrats in the channel right now? Any independents? Would this make you angry? I mean, you know, I'm angry. I mean, I try not. I mean, I try not to be rude. I know I'm rude. I don't give a shit. I don't think they look who they vote for, Governor. LOL. I don't know. This was a bad deal. This was a bad deal, but it sounds like they've been making bad deals for a long time. I got to Minnesota every year fishing. Lots of Trump support in rural areas. Yeah, I keep thinking now that I know about Maduro and those machines and that, you know, there is some juice to the whole they stole the election thing. You know, it makes me wonder how long they've been doing this. I appreciate that. Well, sometimes I could get a little snarky. Like I was pissed over Charlie. I still am. Like every time I look at Charlie, I see pictures of his daughter and his wife. His daughter took this really hard. As you know, she was daddy's little girl. Every time I start talking about it, it's a really sore spot. But you see his daughter's not happy. You know, every time I see photos, and that's so sad. That little girl used to be so happy and so bright. And at like the photos of Christmas and stuff, she just was sad. She was just sad. You could just see it. You could see it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. She was sad. And that breaks my heart that those kids will, you know, they may not remember. I pray to God they don't remember, but they'll, at some point, they're going to know, you know, they're going to be talked to about what happened, you know, because those kids, it's going to be hard for them to remember their dad, you know? That's sad. That breaks my heart because he was such a great man, and I don't care what anybody says. You know, if you can't handle it, then don't go, right? He gave you an opportunity to debate him. It was honest debate. How can anything be wrong with that? Apparently somebody found something wrong with it. They called it hate speech. Hate speech. It sounds to me like people had a stick up their butt that they couldn't debate him any better. He had good answers. Oh, I know, I Spy. But so far I really haven't, like, I think the people that have been supporting her or saying, you know, stuff, I don't know if these people are real or if they're, you know, activists for the Democrat cause and they're just, you know, running interference and trying to, you know, do the spin thing on it. But I mean, I literally pulled a video from every freaking angle of this situation. And it's without a doubt that this lady used her car to try to run over an agent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about whether or not he was hit by the vehicle. He absolutely was hit by the vehicle. This was absolutely justified. Anything that Tim Walz, the mayor, or anybody else says is a flat lie if they say anything different. I've looked at this from every angle, and it has nothing to do with it. If they did something wrong, it does me no good to lie about it. We're a true crime genre, okay? If they did it, they did it. If they made a mistake, they made a mistake. If they did it intentionally, let's hold them accountable. You know me. I don't have any friends, you know? So it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to sit here and say something about ICE agents. If somebody did something wrong, I want them out of commission. I want them pulled off. I don't want a hothead out there in the streets. But what I saw was very discerned law enforcement officers doing their job and a woman being erratic and trying to run them over and using a vehicle that has to be 4,500 pounds or more of steel. Do you know what that will do to a body? He is probably bruised up and down his leg, and this whole area is probably one big black and blue mark. Do you know that? Even if there's no broken bones, he's probably black and blue. He's probably black and blue. Because I don't see how somebody can be hit by steel. I mean, I run into the corner of the wall and I've got a freaking bruise. I can't imagine somebody hitting me with a freaking car. He got hit. This was not one of those things where it was like, well, could he have gotten hit? Did he just miss by a hit? You could literally see the man being pushed out of the way with the car. So, anyways, guys, I wanted to show you all this because I know that there's a lot of misinformation. Again, I was kind of disheartened to see how one of the conversations were kind of going, especially by this time I had already seen all of this footage. So I had already known that this lady did do exactly what they had said. And I go on live and, you know, it was just despicable. It was basically shaming the officers. These officers did nothing wrong. Yeah, I don't understand how we can be on true crime and not be law and order. I mean, we have laws in this country. Everybody's got to follow them, okay? Federal laws. People are not supposed to be here that are here. We see the crime every single day. We see children being kidnapped. We see them being SA'd. We see the substances, even if they're not doing that. We see the gang violence. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And I'm getting sick and tired of everybody just screaming racism every time. They don't like hearing that we're sick and tired of it. Call me what you will. I don't give a shit at this point. Get anybody that's not an American the hell out of America. That's where I'm standing on all of this. I'm not changing my position. If you do not belong here, pack your shit. If you have a family, get married, do what you need to do to be naturalized and get the paperwork done and over with. But I'm sick and tired of it. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of seeing officers in the street being assaulted over this shit. I'm an American citizen. These are officers that are protecting me. They're protecting you. They're protecting everyone. Everyone out there. It is just, it's absolutely frustrating at this point. I'm so frustrated of what I keep seeing over and over again, and I'm tired. Minnesota, you guys have got to stand up for yourself. You have to get the courage to stand up for yourself. Please. We're here. We're helping you. Help yourself. If this is making you angry and you're in one of these communities, please start going to your meetings. Please start just voicing your opinion, even if it's in groups, even if it's in political Facebook groups around your community. Start seeing where your other citizens lie, because at the end of the day, you guys may all be agreeing on something, and you guys might all be getting railroaded by your government because they're stealing from you. And maybe when you realize you're all on the same page, you all get up and go do something about it. We don't need to be killing people out in the streets, and people don't need to be using their car to ram our officers. There's a way to do things, and there's a way not to do things. This right here, unfortunately, she did this to herself, and nobody can take that back. Okay? This is done. But you cannot come out here and blame the officers for protecting themselves. You just can't do that. It's not right. It's unfair. They did nothing wrong. She had no business being here. She wasn't even a state resident. She was shipped in by someone. Renee Cook was shipped in by someone. I want to know who paid her to be there. I want to know who paid her to be there. We need to start digging in. If you're from Minnesota and you want to, well, you know what? Nick Shirley's out there. And who's the other one? We got another one out there. I'm gonna start reaching out to them if they're still out there and seeing, because I gotta tell you, something ain't right. Something ain't right. Maybe they can find out who's shipping these people in, because they need to start really highly thinking of charging these people. This lady lost her life today. This lady's a paid activist. Somebody's paying her. They need to be held accountable for this. They sent her to this area to cause disruption. They are liable. They are liable. They are liable. They need to get to the bottom of it and follow the money. Yep, someone is shipping them in. I know. Well, you know what? We found out, I was watching something from the White House show Poodles, and we found out that there's more people than we thought. Like, I think we were just looking at people that had businesses here. There's some people that have been funneling this stuff that can't even do business in this country. They read their names today and they're like, this is a guy from Switzerland. Or maybe not Switzerland. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I could have sworn that he wasn't allowed to do business here for some reason. I know, Lori. I'm not happy about it. Listen, I don't want to see anybody lose their life. I don't want to see the illegals that are getting arrested and deported back to their countries. I don't want to see them lose their life. I don't want to see our agents lose their life. I don't want to see activists out there. If you want to be an activist and a protester, do it lawfully and legally. Okay? I never, ever, ever have to worry about being ran over unless some murderer's family decides to run me over for protesting out in front of their house. That's about as close as I'm going to get to a homicide, right? And maybe one day there will be somebody that runs me over. There's nothing I can do about it. But I will never be the person that is the instigator. I will always be the victim because I follow the law. I stay on public property. I follow the law. I don't sit there. If somebody were to hit me, I'm not going to hit them back. I'm going to record them. And I'm going to throw them in jail and most likely sue them. So it's like, there's nothing. There's nothing. That's why whenever I go and I say, don't touch me, I know for a fact there's no way in hell I'm breaking the law. Because even if somebody were to get down and just want to try to go wailing on me, we're recording it and I'm taking a hit. And I'm going down. And I'm going to stay down until they're done. And you know what? As soon as I'm back up, I'm calling law enforcement. Their ass is going to jail for probably 5 to 10 years. Doesn't bother me not one bit. Won't be the first time. Did I tell you I was an abused woman? So, I don't know. It's sad. I don't want to see this. And I'm saddened that her mom had to come and identify her body. That had to have been bad. I can't imagine that. I would never want that for any mother, But I wish this lady would have followed the law, and I wish she wouldn't have put people's lives in danger. I've had to go to jail before, right? I've had to go to jail for a crime I did not do. I did not use a vehicle for a weapon. I went with my head held high. I was ultra respectful. I don't understand trying to hurt somebody doing their job, So anyways, that's really my spiel. I wanted you guys to see the truth. I wanted you guys to see the actual evidence. I wanted you to see the car hitting the officer. He could have lost his life and so could have other officers because of her conduct. This was justified. I'm going to stand behind that. All right, guys. We'll see you soon.